Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today, the Insider Tips from University of California Riverside and the impact of the pandemic on the graduate admission process. My name is Martina and I will be the moderator today on behalf of the prep team. Our speaker today is Patrick Latimer, who is an Associate Director of Graduate Admissions. He will give you more details about the application process, available scholarships, and career perspectives. Also, you will learn how an MBA degree actually from University of California Riverside can bring you a great career success. Please type your questions during the entire webinar in the Q&A box or in the chat box, and Patrick will take time to give you an answer at the end of this session. Now, I think that everything is set, and I'm giving the floor to Patrick right now.
Great, thank you. Again, yes, I am Patrick Latimer. I'm Associate Director of Admissions here at the University of California Riverside at the A. Gary Anderson Graduate School of Management. Just a little bit about me. I've worked at about 3 different universities, business schools here in Southern California. And so I'm happy to share insights from my experiences and then specifically over the past couple years with this essentially sort of a post-pandemic a perspective on being admitted to graduate schools and graduate business programs. I have a deck prepared and I'll share this with you. I'll give you a short introduction to our university. We are part of the University of California system here at UC Riverside. So if you've heard of UCLA or UC Berkeley, these are different universities within our system. We're research universities. There's 10 campuses. It consists of about 66 Nobel laureates. There's about 280,000 students in our system, and there's 2.7 million living alumni that are graduates of the UC system. And then we are located in Southern California here, so represented by the star. So we are about an hour from Los Angeles, about 45 minutes from Orange County, represented by the non-trademark Mickey Mouse ears. We're about 2 hours from San Diego. We're about an hour from Palm Springs. If you're familiar, this coming up is going to be the second weekend of the Coachella Music Festival. That's about an hour and 20 minutes from here, just a little bit east of Palm Springs. That's here in Riverside County. And then we're about 3 hours south of Las Vegas, Nevada. This is a big supply chain and logistics hub. The county of Riverside that we are in is the 10th most populated county in the United States. And then our university has about 26,000 students. And then we have easy access to international airports. There's about 25 minutes from campus is the Ontario International Airport. And then here at UC Riverside, we at the Graduate School of Management, we have 5 degree programs. We have an MBA, we have a professional version of the MBA, and we have a Master of Professional Accountancy that is essentially kind of like a 1-year or a specialized master, a Master of Finance, and a Master of Science in Business Analytics, which is our newest degree program. And so all of the degree programs we have at our university have a STEM designation, and there's about a total of about 600 graduate business students with us here, and then we're here in sunny Southern California, so that's why I have my sunglasses. You got to have them with you all the time just in case, because it's hardly cloudy. But anyway, I'll take them off for the webinar. So we'll begin. How has the pandemic impacted graduate business school admission process? In a number of different ways. So topics we're going to be covering within this webinar regarding that. Are things like standardized testing, your undergraduate GPA, interviews. Oftentimes graduate school will interview you. How does it impact interviews? Work experience. How important is it? What happens to you if you during the pandemic you maybe lost your job? How does a business school view that? Application deadlines, has the pandemic affected those? And then we'll talk a little bit about how some of this impacts internships and careers as well. So standardized testing. So early on in the pandemic, one of the things that happened was testing centers closed all over the globe. We're talking about the GMAT, the GRE, English language exams like TOEFL and IELTS. You couldn't take an exam. If you couldn't take an exam, then how could you apply to a graduate program without an exam? So some of the testing, so a number of different things happened. Some of the organizations developed home versions of the tests. And so there was, GMAT at home and GRE at home and TOEFL, home versions of these exams. Universities adapted in a couple different ways. One of the ways they adapted was they waived the exams. They did not make them required. And then some of them adapted by also just accepting these home versions or accepting these online versions of the tests that were sent. So as a result of that, you were seeing reduced exam submissions from candidates. And so admission committees were starting to review applications and substantial numbers of applications that did not have this other component that they used to have for years, which was a standardized test. And so by not having a lot of these tests coming in, they had to, in some ways, sort of internally shift weight toward other elements of the application, like the interview or the GPA, the letters of recommendation and work experience and so forth. Something else that happened out of this is questionable results. Some universities started seeing some exams with people with, average to below average grade point averages submitting test scores that were nearly perfect. And so the university started seeing news reports of basically ways that people were being somewhat dishonest in the way that they were taking the test and things like that. And so there started to sort of be some erosion in the there starts to be some erosion in some of the credibility of some of the at-home versions of the exams. And so you start to see reports of lots of test scores being canceled and all sorts of things. So graduate programs have had to sort of deal with that. So then the question is, should you take a standardized test? And so what I would say is that many universities now, this is going to be, essentially the second or third year for some universities, not requiring an exam. You might be safe not taking one. Maybe a reason to take an exam is to help boost maybe a GPA that is maybe below an average of a university. Taking one of these exams could sort of help and sort of give you points, especially if you think that you could do well on the exam. If you're going to take the exam and you're going to score maybe below the average of that university, or you do score the below the average, maybe it doesn't help you that much. And then this may say, sometimes if the score is nearly perfect, so it could arouse some suspicions, but generally, across the board, you're seeing probably nearly perfect scores only at the sort of highest tier universities on a normal basis. So, all in all, I would say, depending on the university, chat with the university that you're looking to apply to. Chat with them and ask them their perspective on it. For us, we're seeing so many applications only, if it can improve something like a GPA, or help balance a GPA that's maybe not as strong, would we maybe make a recommendation to take it. So the undergraduate GPA, guess what? That just became more important. Different universities read things different. Some of them will look at only your last 2 years of your undergraduate experience. Some of them will look at your cumulative GPA. But it did become more important. I know that our average GPA did rise because we gave that more importance. If you are in an undergraduate program, or you were in one in the past, over the past couple of years, or you're in one now, keep in mind that that could be more important for graduate school than usual. Does your institution that you get your undergraduate degree matter? Yes, typically universities do have, some have some very specific and some have some very general ideas of what they might consider a first tier, second tier, or third tier undergraduate institution, or what more challenging undergraduate majors might be. If you said something like engineering versus communication, some of these things do matter. However, a particularly poor GPA from a fantastic, super competitive undergraduate institution, can hurt you. If you had a 2.0 from a very high tier university, that still may not be able to get you the points versus somebody that has a 3.5 from maybe a tier 2 university. So it can matter in some small areas. And again, universities, you might want to check with them whether they're looking at cumulative GPA or they're looking at the last 2 years. Typically, students tend to perform better in their last 2 years, and oftentimes can take that into consideration when they are reviewing your application. Another thing is that some people have graduate degrees. They already have a graduate degree. They're looking to apply to another graduate program. So they may say, they may say, hey, my GPA wasn't great in my undergrad, but I have a pretty strong GPA in my graduate program. Again, that may depend on the university. I would say having a graduate degree, yes, can help you. But ultimately, generally when an institution is reporting their GPAs to different reporting organizations that do rankings or accreditation, they typically are not reporting the graduate degree GPA, but they're reporting the undergraduate GPA. So that can be of importance. Oftentimes, MBA programs will require an interview. Interviews can be one of the more time-consuming aspects of the admission process for both parties, for the admissions committee and for the student. In the past, universities would even sometimes have interview days where people would come and fly in or drive in for like an interview week, where they would interview lots and lots of candidates, over a period of 7 to 14 days or whatnot. And there had been some element of this where people were doing more video interviews that were recorded, sort of asynchronous videos. So that was starting to emerge. I would say probably starting around 2014, 2015 or so, and it's sort of grown a little bit and it's been a little bit easier. So the question is, will your interview be in person, online, or waived? There's a number of institutions that have probably during pandemic just didn't even have in person any longer, and either moved to online or maybe a phone interview. So I would say that may be something that you would want to expect, because they're so time intensive. I wouldn't expect them to be terribly long. You might be asked 3 to 5 questions. We ask, for example, at UC Riverside, we ask 3 questions. And we give you about 2 minutes to answer each one. And then if you don't like your answer, you do get at least one do-over. So, I mean, you're going to be talking, if you max it out, for a total of about 6 minutes. And then, of course, there's the option, will it be waived? Some universities may be waiving interviews. They may have used to have had it, and they may have just waived it for that. And if they got a good class the year before, they got a good class last year and they waived it, then they may continue to waive them. So it's across the board. Some of you are sort of asking, how much does an interview count? It sort of may, I think it depends on the university across the board. I would say for an institution like us, things that we may be looking for in an interview, because we're going to gather information about you from from your essays that you're turning in, like your statement of purpose. But an interview is going to be showing a little bit about you, a little personality, a little bit about your demeanor. How do you communicate your ideas? Oftentimes there's not right or wrong answers. We just want to see how you communicate and present yourself. What might prospective employers think about that? Did you dress business casual for your interview, or were you not dressed business casual? Things like that. How seriously did you take it? So it's different institutions are going to be taking different parts of it, but I would say it's more of a supplement. Typically for an institution like us, the interview was not necessarily making or breaking their admission chances, but more just sort of a supplemental information about personality and stuff like that in general. And then how do you prepare? It wouldn't be a bad idea to go online and just do a search, typical job interview questions, typical MBA interview questions. They might ask you things like, name a leader you admire and why, or, this, cliched stuff. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Look over, maybe 10 to 20 of these, get a little bit of an idea of where you might start, or what some of your answers might be on that. Again, I think for us, what we like to see, we like to treat the interview more like a job interview. We want it to be more spontaneous, where you're not like thinking forever about something and putting together a perfect answer, but more like right on the spot. What did you decide to tell us? So that, I think that's the way that we like to look at it. So yeah, looking up some practice interviews, finding a good place to do your interview, especially I'm talking more video interview, finding a good place to do that's quiet, has decent lighting and all that sort of stuff, that if we show you put some effort toward it, that looks good. See? Work experience. Is work experience required? Depends on the institution. For us, for our graduate business programs, work experience is not required. However, it is gaining importance in the application process, especially if you don't have a standardized test from somebody. The average age of MBAs in particular has sort of been going down and getting a little bit lower and lower each year. And so institutions, they may used to say we want to see 4 to 5 years of work experience. Now they might say 2 years recommended, something along those lines. So check with the institution. I mean, I'm kind of the point of view that getting an MBA earlier is good, and there's some increased return on investment in that. And is somewhat easier to navigate, especially coming right out of undergrad. That's some of my opinion, but we don't require it. But for here at UC Riverside, other institutions may vary, but just know the average age is getting younger. And then what work experience counts? So typically for graduate admissions, when we are looking at it, we calculate your work experience post-bachelor degree. So that's when we're determining the months. However, some people may come in and they maybe had 3 great internships in their undergraduate. Please put it on your resume. Please share it. It doesn't count officially when we report it to rankings organizations or accrediting organizations, but the admissions committee does take internships and some of the work that you've done or family business. They do take it into consideration, even though it's not sort of an official number that goes into a that would go onto like our student profile data. What if you lost your job during the pandemic? We've experienced a lot of that. We know that that's very common. Certain industries were just forced to just have drastic reductions and close. So what you should expect if that did happen to you, I think that there's a lot of sympathy for that amongst admission committees, and there's a lot of understanding for that in admission committees. And then, so the other thing the admission committee might be looking for in your essay, or even just looking to see on your resume, is what did you do? Did you just sort of sit there and was gone, or what are some other things that you did in order to make up for that, or what initiatives did you take to change that? But ultimately, if someone lost their job during the pandemic, the admissions committees are most likely not going to ding them. If they were working for entertainment and sports and these things were tourism, I mean, that just had to totally close for many months. What if you worked remotely? guess what? That's work, and we count all of that. That does not hurt you if you had some sort of a remote job or experience, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. And when it comes to careers and things as you're in your graduate experience, our application deadline's the same as previous years. In general, yes, but what you may notice is that a number of institutions have added some extended deadlines that go maybe a little bit later, and I think that they're keeping them. Especially in 2020, they added some additional deadlines. I would expect to see that. So again, is it the new normal? I think, you know, if institutions were seeing these extended deadlines being fruitful and bringing good applicants to their program, then yes, they'll keep them. We have a slightly extended deadline for our domestic and our international populations. So yes, you should, you know, start to see some of that. Other things that sometimes people ask are, do application rounds matter? In general, yes. Typically what you might see, all of these graduate business schools would like to build and secure their classes early. Just, you know, from a logistics point of view, from a planning point of view, they would like to know exactly what their class looks like, you know, sometime in early spring. So that they can be done, close everything, prep everything, and then have you go to boot camp and orientation, all that stuff in the summer and fall. But ultimately, lots of institutions are, you know, sort of, again, they're sort of extending this, the importance of the round. Typically, you might hear a standard response from a representative like that, you know, apply early because scholarship funding, you know, is limited and can run out. And there is, I think there's a little bit of truth to that. You know, if someone comes in the first round versus the third round, would they get a substantially lower scholarship? Maybe, not necessarily, maybe 3 to 5%. It depends on the institution. We here at UC Riverside, we've started to put more weight on the earlier rounds. We've been able to build our classes in a little bit faster in the earlier rounds over the past few years. But I mean, you're going to see some of the top business schools tell you in webinars that they are still accepting applications. If they're still accepting applications, they're most likely they're still, you know, if they're doing scholarships, most likely there's some of that available as well. Other considerations, these are just other things to think about. So, you know, a number of institutions think people may be institutions may be working remotely. Some of that remote working might cause globally delays in ordering transcripts. We know we've seen this all over the globe. You might have there might be a COVID spike in a country, in a certain country that others are not experiencing, and then the universities will close for 3 weeks and they can't get their transcripts to us. You might find delays in getting embassy appointments for your F1 visa if you're an international student. And so, you know, again, I think what I'm sort of saying is think about doing some of these things earlier. Campus visits may be limited. They might, institutions might have certain precautions that they have you to take if you wanted to come on campus. All those things are starting to be alleviated, but they may have you, you know, actually log into a site and say that you you know, have been negative on COVID test, or that you don't have any symptoms before you step foot on campus, that sort of thing. So some institutions may do that. And then on the other hand, connecting with university program ambassadors may be easier. So this has, you know, the pandemic has forced institutions to make more things available online. So you normally might come on campus and visit and sit in a class with a campus ambassador. That may not be available, you know, or may not have been available, but they've made connecting with them, you know, by chat or email easier. So you could connect with them on Zoom. So you might actually be able to find them easier. So for example, on our website, we have all of our ambassadors, and we have their email addresses and everything. You can reach out to our ambassadors just through our website and to reach out and connect with them from all the different programs that we offer at UC Riverside. And then other things not necessarily related to the admission process, but just related to the grad experience. So you're going to start to see like more hybrid course options. So for example, we are in person, our classes are in person, but there are a few classes that we offer. We say, you know, we're 90% in person or 95% in person, but you're probably going to see a little bit more hybrid course options than you used to see. You're going to see more virtual job recruiting. So, you know, recruiters come to campus. They would come to campus, have a table, do this and that. But now the recruiters are happy to do more virtual recruiting. If they do more virtual recruiting and they're not on the road as much, guess what? They can visit more schools. So and they're more refreshed. They can do it from home. So I think you're going to see more virtual recruiting. That's going to be staying. Internships, guess what? You know, oftentimes you might pick a university because of its location. You say, hey, I want to work in the auto industry. I need to go up to, you know, Michigan or Ohio or something and go to a university there. But now, you know, you could do internships from all different types of industries from all different parts of the country, especially as well as your jobs remotely, because they're used to that. People know how to manage that more. And of course, more remote working along with the internships, more jobs. So this just gives you more options in terms of what to look for. We had students that were getting, you know, internships in New York and Texas and things like that. And we're in California, and they were getting, maybe in previous years, they would not have even considered getting, you know, internships or doing remote internships for companies or locations like that. But they did emerge during the pandemic. So ultimately, there's more options. So though that is a good thing as part of this sort of your for job seeking and internship seeking. Disadvantages of applying post-pandemic. Now, there's not many downsides, not that many. One thing that has emerged is that a lot of people think, hey, like if the standardized tests are not required at all different types of institutions, and I'm going to start applying to more and more elite institutions because I don't have to have the best test scores. Well, it's turning out that even that actually admissions has gotten more competitive at the very, very top programs, at the most elite programs. It had actually gotten more competitive. Admission rates had gotten lower and things like, so it didn't so not having the exam didn't necessarily translate into that. So you know, institutions are the type of student that they're admitting is about the same type of student that they were admitting before. Advantages. And advantages is not that many downsides. I will, you know, applying now. So standardized testing could return. You know, we were still test optional up and, you know, for 2023. For 2022, I haven't heard if it's going to return for 2023. But you know, standardized testing is a significant investment. You're paying for the test. You're paying for tutoring, materials, the time investment that it takes. So, you know, applying it to a school now, if they don't require it now, it could come back. Scholarships are still competitive out there. So you know, institutions are still giving good scholarships to good students that are showing academic and professional excellence. And then also I have this here sort of a, you know, sort of a I don't know, interesting kind of comment, but business school can be a good buy right now. Business school is typically more expensive than some other different types of master's programs out there. They're known to be more expensive. However, you know, there's been sort of some global inflation. So, you know, what happens is universities oftentimes don't raise their prices the same way that other goods are raised. And sometimes I know we've held our prices firm for about 2 to 3 years. And so they have not gone up. Therefore, if you're taking loans, you know, the money that you're getting the loan for, you know, if inflation and you get sort of is happening and you're sort of getting a higher salary, the amount of real money that you're actually paying back over time during periods of higher inflation actually is, the real money is actually getting a little bit lower. So sometimes this is a good time to do loans. Again, business schools can't raise their price at the speeds that other consumer goods, and so and they're pretty sensitive to that, and so there's not a lot of raising of prices for that. And then students are still getting good jobs, and the return on investment is really good. So business school can be a good buy at this time, and things can work out in your favor. Hey, Q&A time. I'm ready, Martina, for Q&A time. Should I would you like me to open the Q&A and the chat, or which ones should I start from? We've got plenty of time. Let's see. Maybe I'll start. There's a few short ones on the Q&A. I think I'll start with those. Algebraic continues, forces business schools online. Applicants hoping to start program fall face a lot of uncertainty. Think that the options for MBAs without online classes in 20. Yeah, things are moving more in person. You're going to see a little bit more hybrid. Some students actually like that. They like a little bit of hybrid, but they do. So things, I think that, as things are going forward, there was a lot of drive for things to be more in person. So I think that the online classes will they'll reduce, but there's going to be a portion that I think still remains. I think some students liked some elements of it, and some of the institutions liked some element of that partial, that sort of little bit of a hybrid model. Someone's saying, give more details on visa. Do you support European students in their visa application? Had to provide something like graduate visa? Oh yeah, so just real quickly, I mean, visa, is if you're applying to a school in the United States, after you're admitted, you go through something called the I-20 process. That's essentially the key, sort of a key to get into the embassy for your F1 visa interview. And then if you graduate from an institution like UCR, like all of our management programs have a STEM designation. So that means you can work in the United States when you graduate for up to 3 years from all of our programs. So you're essentially getting on the job training for up to 3 years in the US. Most places, it's like you get 1 year after graduation, but our STEM designation allows for 3 years. I hope that helps a little bit. How can you start application? The master's program suggests me to advise you to start application. Yes, my email address is right here and my phone number. If anybody uses WhatsApp, this is my WhatsApp number too, 951-237-1666. That is absolutely my connection. So you can email me. I can connect with you, and I'll be your advisor. I'm your point of contact. From what people should the recommendation letters be? That's a good question. So we accept recommendation letters that can be either academic, like from professors, or they can be professional. At an institution like us, we only need 1 letter of recommendation, but you can have up to 3. I think we slightly like to see professional letters a little bit more than academic, but they don't. It's not that big of a difference. They just need to say some positive stuff about you. And then wondering a letter of recommendation required, and what are recommendations in this regard? Employers, yeah. So they can be professors. They can be generally we want to see supervisors. So if they supervised your internship, or they were a current supervisor, something along those lines, that's absolutely possible. Do we have someone's asking about PhD? We have a PhD program at our at our school, but we don't really recruit for it. We only admit maybe 2 to 3 a year, and they are like super high performing, super high GPAs, super really good GRE or GMAT scores. So we don't do a lot of offers. We don't really recruit for it very much. We don't even make the admission decisions. They don't go through a typical admissions committee. PhD is only decided by faculty. Hello. Thank you for joining us from Philippines. Hello from Sri Lanka. Good stuff. I haven't been to Philippines yet. I haven't been to Sri Lanka yet, but I have some friends from both places. Hey there, Pakistan. I haven't been to Pakistan yet. The closest I've been to Pakistan, I was in Ahmedabad, which is like Gujarat, that kind of is on the border there, right? Let's see. Details about scholarship so yeah, I mean, someone's asking about scholarship, like, if you applied in round one, at a place like us, if you apply in round one versus round three or something like, maybe your scholarship is 5, 10, 15% higher, maybe. It depends. If we see a great killer application, we're gonna give a great solid application. We're gonna reward that appropriately. Someone said, do you have a practicing profession? I'm a graduate bachelor, elementary education in the Philippines. Yeah, I mean, if you have, at UC Riverside, I do a session every week, an admission, a virtual session every week called UCR Live. So if you ever want to do, in fact, I think if you've joined the session and you've approved it, I will be able to get your email addresses from the Access organization, and I'll put you on our mailing list, and you'll get the invites to UCR Live. There's some little bonuses. If you've joined this session, by the way, and you're looking to apply, I can give you an application fee waiver that saves you, like, if you're domestic, that's $140. If you're international, it's about $165. So I can tell you about that process later, but I do a session every week that is very, very focused on admission. I have dates basically every week. I did one yesterday. They're every week until June so far. Yeah. Details about visa. Okay, I think you put that there. Okay. Yep, I'll be a good advisor. Someone says, as outbreak continues for business schools. Okay, we got that one. Yes, we have scholarships at our university. 94% of admitted students applying to programs at our business school at UC Riverside are qualifying for some form of scholarship. Good morning from the beautiful Philippines. Good morning from the shining metropolis of Riverside. Someone's saying IELTS or ACT. Yeah, so I will say this: if you are joining us if you want to apply to school like us, I didn't put this in the presentation. This is a good thing to think about. I mentioned the standardized test issues. At UC, at the business school here, we can waive the IELTS or the TOEFL exam based upon if you graduated from a university where the medium of instruction was in English. So most schools in India, Ghana, Nigeria, if your undergraduate degree was conducted in English, you do not need to submit a TOEFL or an IELTS score like that. Isn't that cool? Someone's saying hi from Indonesia. My wife is from Indonesia. I've been to Indonesia a couple times. You ever heard of a town called Pontianak? She was born in Pontianak, but family's in like sort of near Bekasi right now, outside of Jakarta. Hey there from Uzbekistan. Hey, hello from Lebanon. Hey from Azerbaijan. Hello from Pakistan. Hello Ghana. Good to see everybody. All sorts of folks from everywhere. Good to connect. Someone's asking about living areas. So Riverside is, I mean, our city in Riverside has, we have approximately 300,000 people. We're sort of like a medium-sized city. However, if you go, let me go up in my presentation to the very top. If you go from the coast here in Los Angeles all the way to Riverside, it's almost like one giant city. Cost of living, though, is a little bit lower, more inland, because we're not beachfront property, down here. So cost of living is less expensive than Orange County and Los Angeles. There's also there's a lot of places to live on campus. There's on-campus housing. There's a lot of off-campus. What a lot of our graduate students do, especially the international students, is that they will get roommates. They'll live two or three people to an apartment, and they can save a significant amount of money. Someone was asking a question about cumulative GPA. In general, graduate school wants to see a cumulative GPA in the US standard of about a 3.0 or above. About the lowest we can go is about a 2.7, 2.8. Our average GPA is about a 3.3, 3.4. Again, someone's asking about IELTS or if you graduated from a university where the medium of instruction was in English, you do not need an IELTS or a TOEFL. We have somebody, required IELTS is 7. Required TOEFL, if you didn't graduate from a university where English was the medium of instruction, you would need a TOEFL of a minimum of an 80 and then a minimum of IELTS of a 7. But yeah, living areas, there's a lot of places very close to campus. If your UCR student ID gets you free access to the local bus, and there's train stations if you want to take trains into Los Angeles, Orange County, go to the beach. All of that is available. And then someone's asking how much scholarship is available for 3.3 for cumulative. I'm going to give you the exact answer. Here you go. No, I don't. We look at slightly more than just the GPA. However, if you're coming in with a 3.34, I would say that is average to above average. So depending on the program, I'm not sure if you're looking at like an MBA or specialized masters, but if you're coming in with that, that's a pretty solid GPA, and so you'd probably qualify for something that is average to above average. I think it would be pretty substantial, possibly even depending on your again, we review your whole application and your whole background, but possibly even like a TA-ship. You could get a teaching assistantship. We have teaching assistantships in the MBA, which are worth about close to $40,000. It's available in the second year of the MBA. It's 9 months of part-time work, but you get part of it is scholarship, part of it is salary, and part of it is paying for health insurance. Someone's asking about the entire MBA tuition fee. We are on the quarter system at UCR, so you can graduate from our MBA in 5 or 6 quarters. And so we charge you per quarter. So for an international student, it's approximately $19,000 per quarter. So what you would do is you would take that 19,000 and multiply it by 5 or 6, and that would essentially be what your tuition would look like for that. Yeah, if you've got a 3.34, I think you could get a pretty strong scholarship. I mean, I'm not going to throw like a number or percentage out at this right now, but if you wanted to send me your resume and you want to send me your a copy of your transcript, I can get like a little more detailed with you if you wanted to do that. So we can absolutely do that if you wanted to send me like a copy of that. But let me scroll down. I'll get back to our. Yeah, if you graduated from Azerbaijan, and you would need to do an IELTS or TOEFL. Yes. Someone's asking about total fee and masters in IT. We don't necessarily have that. We don't have IT. We have a master's in business analytics at the School of Business. Our business analytics program is approximately $57,000 for the entire program, and then like a pretty good scholarship would be maybe $15,000 like a tier better than that might be about 18,000. I don't know if we've gone over 21,000 of scholarship for MSBA, but if your university in Pakistan had if it was conducted in English, then you may not need it. So you may not need it. I would just have to look at that university or the document you have. Someone's asking, saying they're from Lebanon, if there's a PhD in economy and education. I don't know. We have an economics department and we have a school of education. I know they both offer PhDs, but I'm only with the business school, so I don't know. Someone's asking how to get a PhD in your university. Make really good grades and have a really good GRE score, and We just don't recruit for that. I only recruit primarily for the master's programs, the professional programs at the School of Business. But thank you for those questions. Your futures are so bright. I have to wear shades. They're so bright. So much potential in these questions and in our attendees. Someone is asking about a master's in logistics or transport. That's a really good question. This is a big, if you did like something like us, like you did an MBA with a concentration in logistics and supply chain, that would probably be a pretty good option for you. We are in a massive supply chain logistics region here. We have the Ontario International Airport, which has one of those massive runways that can take all the international big heavy jets. We have over 1 billion square feet of warehouse space in this region. We have the March Reserve Air Force Base that has UPS and Amazon Prime planes taking off all the time. We have a San Bernardino Airport, which is about 30 minutes away, that has UPS, FedEx, planes taking off all the time. This is a massive logistics. So logistics, supply chain is a specialty of our university. To University of Central Punjab. Do you prefer the private university or government for it? It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if your university was private or if it was a public university. It just needs to have been conducted in the English language for us to do the TOEFL IELTS waiver. We typically will call you up also for just a brief interview. If you're, we would call you up and just do a brief interview. Typically people from India do very well. I think we've only had a couple people that we were like, you might want to take a test, but no, but most of the people do very well. I'll show you a little bit of our admissions, folks. This is our team. There's out of our team here, 3 of them have MBAs from UCR. 5 of them have over 5 years of experience here at UCR. So you've got a lot of good insight and professional experience in the team here. These are you can reach out to us. We have a number of different functions, but most of the time you might be connecting with myself or Tamara. Keith, Irene, and Maribel work with your files after you've applied. Steve Chen is our director of admissions. And then Abigail does a lot of our work with international student recruiting as well. Tamara is often referred to as our American mama. I'm trying to get Steve being referred to as Papa Steve, and then I can be Uncle Pat. But really good stuff happening here at UCR. If again, there's still time to apply if you're looking at 2022 or even 2023 and beyond. We will be opening a new School of Business in 2024. We're really excited about that. We've seen plans and all that. It's going to be nice and beautiful. So a lot of good rankings. We got the recent rankings. We're ranked 89th best School of Business in the United States. It's really hard to get into the top 100. Even among the UCs, it's very competitive. Not even all the UCs are in the top 100. There's six UCs that have business schools, and we're even there's only 5 in the top 100. So, are some of you messaging me on WhatsApp? I'm seeing some things come in. I'm like, is that you guys? Anyway, who's AK? There he is. Abakar Combo, is that you?
I believe that we have answered all of the questions.
That's right.
Thank you so much for this.
Very good.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and for giving this really valuable information. I believe that it was helpful to all of the attendees today. I want to remind everyone that they will receive a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar, so they will be able to watch it one more time. And for now, on behalf of our team, I want to wish a good luck to all of you in your academic journey and want to thank you, Patrick, one more time.
Thank you,
for your time
Martina.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.
Good luck to all of you.
Bye for now.